Hey video guys, so I'm coming at you with another video after taking a few weeks break and pretty much going into another episode in my Maverick series, making videos really controversial and pretty much adding to the discussion from my last video, which is Asian values, and kind of going a little bit further into if Filipino values are conservative values. So let's get into it. But first, before we talk about all of that, I do want to give a shout out to all the people who have subscribed lately, and it's because of my walk away video, and I have seen a spike in my subscribers as well as in my viewership. So thank you so much for all those new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy my content, and be sure to check out my other stuff. And if you are new to this channel, if you are new to this, and this is the first time you're seeing this in the first video you're watching, what up? I go by Mitch, I go by Hey Mitch, and pretty much I do things about like current events, reviews, pop culture within the scope of entertainment, movie, and purpose. So pretty much check out those videos as well. And so if you like this video, please share, like, and subscribe, and check out my other videos as well. Alright, so in my last video, I was talking about Asian American values and if it is comparable with conservative values. And I was doing that through the Asian Hustle Network, and through the results, I found out, yeah, sure, they are. Like, you have on the top 3 answers, you know, whether it's hardworking and accountability, family values, and respecting your elders. And so, essentially, yeah, those are conservative values. And so what I wanted to do is go to the Filipino American community and see if how our Filipino American values pair up to the greater Asian American community, and see if they're leaning more liberal or leaning more conservative. And what I did is ask the Filipino American airmen community in the U.S. Air Force, so a subset within the Filipino American community. And then just like in my last video, I want to put a disclaimer: this is nothing like super like studies based or anything. This is not based on like, you know, huge polling. It's just a subset, so take it with a grain of salt, of course, but it does factor into a small mindset of folks and see what they believe in and see how they and their perspective, right? So again, it's more like an observation, so don't even use it. So no, again, it's not a huge base nationwide study or anything, so take it to like I said, with a grain of salt. But it does factor into pretty insightful as far as how it pairs into our discussion here, right? And so it's a starting off point. So again, getting into it, asking the Filipino American airmen community in the U.S. Air Force and asking them what would they say would be the top 3 Filipino American values. At number 1, at 60 votes, we have family values. At number 2, with 52 votes, we have respecting your elders. And number 3, at 25 votes, we have heritage, culture, and tradition, with number 4 being at 24 votes. Right below it, hardworking and accountability, and then with 11 votes, faith in Christianity. Okay, so I find that very interesting because, okay, for myself, what I picked is essentially God, family, country. I would have picked faith, Christianity first, family values second, and then heritage, culture, tradition as my third, right? And so again, I find that really interesting because I thought really actually that other Filipinos would feel the same way, especially if we were in the same kind of like career field, being in the US military. But again, obviously people are different and all that stuff. But I really thought like at least faith would be in the top 3, not in the top, well, it's still in the top 5, so it's really still intrinsic into the Filipino experience. But I thought it was going to be higher. But you know, still top 5 is still top 5. Next, pairing it up with the Asian American, greater Asian American community, I found it really surprising that it paired up almost exactly the same. With exception, so family values and respecting your elders are something again very Asian. So that was very cool that portion lined up, right? For the greater Asian American community, we put hardworking and accountability as number 1. And for the Filipino American community, at least in this instance, in this poll, again, not generalizing every Filipino ever, every Filipino American ever, but it landed not even on the top 3. Well, it landed just barely in the top 3, right? It just landed short of heritage, culture, and tradition. So dissecting that, yeah, family values, that is a given within the Filipino community. I mean, we have such strong family values as far as taking care of each other, not just in the military, but in general, having strong family values in our lives, you know. And so that goes into respecting your elders, and I wanted to separate that because just with along with the other Asian American communities where it's like bowing, you know, like we have our own manopo, right? And so respecting your elders is definitely big within the Filipino American community and Filipino culture in general. So those two are very much of a given. The next portion, which is heritage, culture, and tradition, right? And so I think obviously that is intrinsic, you know, to us, like whether you are in like the West Coast in California, you know, a lot of Filipinos that go through the big universities do PCN, you know, and obviously there's a big family representation there too, but you know, there's this emphasis of culture and heritage and tradition that is very intrinsic. And you know, when it comes to Filipino Americans in the US Air Force and probably the US military in general, it is always, I find it interesting that it's always the Filipinos who represent during the Asian American Pacific American History Month or whatever. I can't say the acronym correctly right now, but it's always the Filipinos who tend to lead up these organizations and pretty much represent the month as a whole. And I think it just comes from whether it's pride or just the sense of tradition and culture that we just like to be a part of and want to express. Looking into those values, yes, I believe those are conservative values, you know, like pro-family is very conservative. Respecting your elders, I think that's very conservative, especially within the Asian American community. And then a sense of tradition, right? And a sense of culture and heritage. I think that is very much a conservative value to uphold traditions, the things that have been in the past, because obviously the verses of that is being progressive. And while there is a level of progressivism, you know, within greater everyone's ethnicity, but a strong sense of tradition is very conservative. So yeah. So in my last video, I talked about how your cultural values need to align with your political values, right? And obviously, like in that same video, we shouldn't adhere to one political party and everything, but I do want to illuminate that our Filipino values are conservative values. So why are Filipino Americans are voting Democrat? You know, I think I can dive into another video on that, but like just touching on that question and just touching the light surface of that, you know. And I think there's you know, if I were to answer that question, you know, there's an element in which Filipinos tend to live on the West Coast, right? In major cities, and those cities tend to vote blue. And so there's an influence of democratic culture, liberalism, progressivism, and so that infiltrates into the Filipino American experience, right? And likewise, for Filipinos who go to UCLA and Berkeley and Cal State, whatever, Northridge, what up? And so you are influenced, like I said, you are influenced with these ethnic studies for the good and bad of it, right? And so you're also introduced into, I wouldn't say social justice, but there is an element in that, but you are introduced into Filipino cultural nights and all this stuff. So there's the sense of expressing yourself. And I think that there's a level of academia, you know, that is inserted into the Filipino experience, because Filipinos have a history of becoming in the union workers and protesting, right? And protesting for ethnic studies, Asian American studies, right? And so there is a level of progressivism in the Filipino American community. And, you know, again, the Democrats tend to historically fight for the working class, you know? And so a portion of that is the Filipinos, right? And a portion of, and they used to be for the Democrats used to be for the minorities. And I think there's a political shift that's doing, especially in the walk-away movement with FLexit and Latino exit. And now, I don't know, there's another question into that. There's no Asian exit yet. There's no Filipino exit. There's no FLexit. And I will coin that term, FLexit. But, you know, I think they're, like, historically, like, Democrats have capitalized on the minority vote, right? And I feel like a lot of Filipinos gravitated towards Democrats because of those reasons. But it, like I said in before, Filipino values are conservative values. So there are a lot of Filipinos who are Republican, my parents included. So again, there's a sense of liberalism that is inserted into the Filipino American experience. And I think there's a level of Filipinos being very expressive, whether it is through the arts, hip-hop, singing, dancing. I think there's a level of liberal arts that is intrinsic in the Filipino American experience, and unlike the other Asian American cultures, especially more of the East Asian cultures, there's a level of being reserved, right? And being like quiet and like maybe even stoic, you know? But I think Filipinos are loud. Like we love to party, we love to do these big things, right? We love to be in your face and be very expressive. And you know, that level of just being in your face or being more upfront in a ways is, you know, it leans into like how kind of like activism, you know, just being out there, just being really fully out there, right? Again, I think there's a level of being expressive that kind of works well on the Democrat Party, or what used to be the Democrat Party. I think nowadays I would argue it is the right, the conservatives that's being counterculture, and they're being like the side that actually loves humor, you know, that can accept humor, right? And I feel like maybe Filipinos may be more gravitated towards that. And also, when it comes to Filipinos, because of our history of being colonized, I think there is a level of justice that we essentially have. And I think that falls in line with social justice, which is typically on the left, right? And so I can see how a lot of Filipino Americans want to be, let's say, in politics just so that we can be on the side of fighting for justice, right? There's a level of that, sure, but I think it's being co-opted into something like, right now, the left is being inundated with identity politics. And so at some point, I feel like, and I guess you can disagree, whatever, but it's that level of justice is being co-opted by, like I said, intersectionality, and I don't think it follows into what Filipino core values are. And so if Filipino values are conservative, we should follow more on the right. Okay, so wrapping it up, I think there's a lot I can dissect here in another video, whether about diving deeper into why, if Filipinos have conservative values, why are they voting liberal, you know, or how, if you are looking and watching this video, how do I reconcile our past colonialism and still be a US patriot, right? And so those might be videos for another time, but I think ultimately, when it comes to my last video and this video, I think people need to ask their question, at what point do their cultural values align with their political values, right? If you watch the Daily Wire, if you watch Michael Knowles, as I mentioned in my last video, like he often mentions, you know, politics is downstream from culture, which is downstream from religion. And so all of those things should align, right? So again, I think people need to, especially like for this particular video, Filipino Americans need to look into what their core values are as Filipinos, right? And I really believe that intrinsically we are conservative. And again, you don't have to be beholden to a political party, but you should vote on those values that represent us as a people, right? And so, and again, for me, I'm gonna vote for the candidate that's pro-life. In this case, it's Trump, because, you know, for me, I'm big on my faith, right? And I'm big on pro-life, and so I know who to vote for. But for those who are voting Democratic, I don't know. Like, I understand you want to fight for justice, but I think you need to dive deeper into how that is being manipulative in how it's being used. I don't know. And so maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree below, like, and comment below and say if you disagree or you agree. If you like this video, please share, like, and subscribe. Add into this conversation if you agree what I was saying, if you disagree, if there's something that you feel like, you know, I was missing in this video and all that stuff. And so yeah, definitely go ahead and do that, and please check out my other videos as well, not only just my not only these topics, but my TV reviews as well. So, and thanks for watching. Until the next video, peace, peace, peace be with you.